Following the high-level talks with the U.S. and Bahamian government on Monday on mutual crime issues, including the trafficking of narcotics, humans and firearms, an agreement between the two countries was formalized and signed by Minister of Foreign Affairs Fred Mitchell and Deputy Assistant Secretary of State for the U.S. Liliana Ayalde. The agreement provides an additional $2.1 million as part of the Caribbean Basin Security Initiative. Meantime, yesterday, Prime Minister Christie pointed out that one of the more problematic areas in the country is that of the smuggling of illegal high-powered weapons. Today, Minister Mitchell said another vexing issue for Bahamians is human smuggling. The agreement calls for the Bahamas to do its homework and follow up on the use of technology to track illegal immigrants on land.
Is how people in slow-moving boats can launch off the north of Haiti and get all the way up into the middle of the country before being detected. There are a number of reasons for that. One is they said from the U.S. point of view, there's already cooperation between our forces and theirs in trying to stop this interdiction coming out of ships coming out of the north. And they believe they're having a 90% success in stopping the ships from coming through. But of course, every time you have a high-profile one that gets by, this of course becomes, the public becomes more agitated.
Meantime, Minister Mitchell said the government is following up on a specific type of radar and will hold discussions on what this type of equipment will cost, where the government can acquire it, and how it'll work. In the meantime, he says there's mounting concern with changing laws in Cuba on how people exit that country.
The question is, what will be the impacts of this? That's why we have an intelligence agency, which is now headed by the former Commodore Scavella, and this is to gather information. We talked about information sharing with the Americans. They made some suggestions and contributions toward trying to help us organize the National Intelligence Agency. I think there's a better understanding of the policing issues, so all of that we'll be looking at.
$2 million was allocated during the budget for the repatriation of illegals. Minister Mitchell says to date some 2,000 persons have been returned to their countries. In other news tonight, the Port of Nassau will be busier than usual in the coming days as cruise passenger numbers are set to pick up during the fall and winter seasons. Jimenita Swain spoke to Port Controller Commander Patrick McNeil, who says scores of visitors are set to call on the port before year's end.
Passengers trickling one by one or in large groups from cruise ships in the Port of Nassau signals the beginning of what port officials are calling a boom in visitor numbers for the fall and winter periods. Port Controller Commander Patrick McNeil says so far for the fall, visitor numbers are really picking up.
Here at the port, we tend not to separate the passengers from the crew because in our opinion they're both visiting and they're both spending money in our economy. So you'll find that about 69,000 passengers came in just last week, along with about 26,000 crew. So we're looking at approximately about 96,000 visitors to the Port of Nassau at Prince George Wharf.
3 ships were in port Monday, including the Carnival Fantasy and the Disney Wonder, but Commander McNeil says by the end of the week, a total of 13 vessels are expected to call on the port.
Last year, January, we had as much as 106,000 visitors in a week. So this shows a healthy growth, and also the crew, it fluctuates from time to time, but basically between probably about 60,000 to about a little over 100,000 per week.
Commander McNeil says there are a number of activities to occupy cruise passengers while in port.
Normally our visitors take part in the water-based tours that are provided, the land-based tours, and the remaining amount of our guests normally go downtown to the straw market, the world-famous straw market, and to the local merchants downtown to collect souvenirs to take back to friends and relatives.
Port Controller Commander McNeil says he hopes that visitor numbers for fall and winter surpass those of earlier in the year. Jimenita Swain, ZNS Network News.
Junkanoo is getting closer, 8 days and counting, but for the first time in a number of years, the pre-judging of costumes for the National Junkanoo Parade won't take place as scheduled. The decision to bypass the judging exercise was made sometime last week. LaDawn Davis spoke to the president of the JCNP about what prompted that decision, how ticket sales are going, and about the new and improved judging process.
Junkanoo officials say insufficient space to accommodate more than 50 costumes on Arawak Key is the main reason why prejudging of the lead and individual categories for the Boxing Day parade was postponed this time around. Chairman of the JCNP, Silver Ferguson, says the decision to put off prejudging was a collaborative effort between the JCNP and all the major Junkanoo groups.
The ministry has done its due process because they gave us enough notice. We agreed in enough time. But I think groups feel the pressure that they will not be completed on the 22nd, and so therefore they have all voted in more or less to just do away with the prejudging.
Although quite expensive, prejudging is optional and will not have an impact on the overall results of both major parades. But ironically, though, Mr. Ferguson says the use of smartphones as a new judging process to eliminate protesting this year is already sparking a little controversy.
We have had one letter that came in from 1A division group. Not that they don't support it, they just want to make sure that we have the backup plan in place. And what we are doing this year is we embarked on looking at the scoring system early in March of this year. And we have been working with it from that time. We have the smartphones that we have in. They are working very well. The issue that I think people are afraid of change, and they just think that something is going to go wrong. And so, what we have done, we have the backup plan in place. We're going to use the phones, and the same score the judges key into the phones, they will write on the existing old score sheets.
But when it comes to ticket sales for the Boxing Day Junkanoo Parade, Ferguson says most of the seating areas are already sold out.
Boxing Day is going very well. Very, very well. We have a number of areas in our parade that is sold out. Section F and H, that is Scotiabank North and South, they're all sold out. We have approximately 60% of Section E and G, that's Royal Bank and Opposite, that is sold out. We have approximately 80% of Rawson Square North, that is sold out, and 90% of Parliament Square South is sold out. And so the open areas in our parade are $15 tickets. They are available in abundance.
Now, Ferguson says those persons who have purchased tickets online have until Thursday to settle their accounts. If not, those tickets will be canceled. LaDawn Davis, ZNS Network News.
Now, if you haven't purchased your Junkanoo tickets yet, it's not too late. You can still do so at Festival Place at the Prince George Wharf.